Hi, Jordan. Good evening to you. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled Or Worthless. Read that again. Juxtaposition of your very soul. Thank you very much for reaching out and for taking that swift action, scheduling this interview with me. I really am honored. And yes, so before we get right into our conversation today, I would like to read a bit of your introduction to our listeners today, and then we can yeah, go jump right in.
Sounds great.
All right. So, hey everybody, we have Jordan Miller here, the driving force behind the Satori network, a pioneering crypto AI endeavor designed as a future oracle. Wow. To help humanity anticipate upcoming challenges. This is interesting. I really want to know. So with years of experience as a lead developer in the crypto space, Jordan has blended his passion for AI and distributed systems to launch this innovative project. Jordan's goal is to expose people to Satori. It's a decentralized AI, which is something that we need more of right now. Satori's primary objective is to predict the future of everything we humans find valuable to foresee. Oh my goodness. Its predictions are free and open for everyone. Anyone can participate by downloading the Satori Neuron software from the website. Is it free? No.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Before we go before we go deeper, so could you share with us what was it like growing up as Jordan Miller?
Oh, pretty normal. So I grew up in Utah, so I was Mormon. So I grew up pretty staunch Mormon, pretty much in it, very
Okay.
much.
Very much.
And
It's okay.
I was kind of a fanatic, but in my early 20s, I decided to try again and just look at the world with brand new eyes. Wasn't for me.
Well, thank you for being so candid and honest. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what created me, or what kind of was a huge part of teenage
Yeah.
years and young adult.
Okay. Thank you. So, I read your profile and you were talking about how you love systems and the brain intelligence, and I myself could resonate is because for me, so the journey was something different, but something again like an external, I would say, an incident happened, and then that switched me into thinking like, okay, what else is there that I don't know about, right? And
Is that how you went into kind of like thinking?
yes,
Or
yes.
oh, cool.
Like I had to lose myself to find myself again. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that really, it's like you're basically collapsing what you've known before and just try
Yes.
to rebuild from there. And really, I was trying to find like, what is the source? What is that? So that anything at any point in my life that I feel like, okay, I am losing my grip again, what is it that I can come back to? Yeah, so I think of it that way, and it has evolved since the first time. I think I would say that my spiritual journey, began in 2019. Kind of
Oh, cool.
evolved in a different way, but we're still evolving, until we're 6
Always.
feet underground. Yeah, yeah. I mean, beyond that even, because we're light beings, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Jordan. So, how does the brain generate intelligence? Like layman.
Okay, so this was a topic that I became fascinated. I wanted to know, how does the brain, how does it think? What is the proper way to think? What is the most efficient way to come to, intelligent conclusions and all that kind of stuff? I remember thinking about this as a fourth grader. Like I was really like trying to figure it out. And that led me down, this is kind of a sidebar, but that kind of led me down kind of an existentialist kind of rabbit hole in the fourth grade, where I was like, well, wait a sec, I don't
You
know how to
started early
think.
though.
How am I doing it?
Yeah.
And it kind of was freaking out a little. But so in my early 20s, I kind of was looking at the brain a lot and trying to figure out how does this work. I took brain courses in college, I read books, and there's a lot of nuance and a lot of complexity there. But there are some things, you can distill it down to kind of like a takeaway model. Like, okay, what's the, kind of takeaways from all this? And one of them is that the brain produces predictions of the future, of everything that's going to come into the body, whether through the skin or the eyes, all the information.
Mm.
It's always making predictions of it come in before it comes.
Right.
And to kind of get an intuitive feel for this, like it's subconscious, you know. So I can give like maybe a couple examples. Like you see somebody you haven't seen in a while,
Yeah.
and immediately this like something's different about them.
Right.
And in order to do that, in order to notice you changed your hair or whatever, that means that you have already had an expectation and made a prediction of what you were going to see subconsciously. And then when it didn't match on the low levels of pattern recognition, that kind of flows up the hierarchy until it gets to your conscious experience and says, I don't know what to do with this. It didn't match. And then you investigate, you say, there's an anomaly here.
Therefore, you made the comments like, oh, you look different.
Right.
Something's changed about you.
Yeah. And another kind of maybe a better example of this kind of constant future prediction that the brain does is like when you get startled, like you're surprised if something happened that you didn't expect, and you have to spend a second to kind of catch up, to see like, oh, you know, like what's going on.
Right.
If you weren't predicting the future of every moment, then every moment would feel that way. It would always be, I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to figure out what just happened. But because you're constantly predicting it, you know, you're prepared when it comes. So these are just, you know, some examples that this is kind of the lowest layer of intelligence as far as I'm concerned. Like this is what we do all the time, everywhere in the brain.
Right.
So I guess that's one. It probably
could we tune it higher
principles.
because I am interested. Yes, let's bring it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting pattern is the neocortex. That's the very top of the brain, the part that makes us human, you know, the part that makes us mammals. Mammals have it, reptiles don't. And we have a very big neocortex, you know, really evolved in humans. And they've been studying it. They tried to figure out what is this, you know, and that's the part you see that's kind of wrinkly, and
Okay.
they can kind of map out regions because they're like, oh, this part's active when you're talking, and this part's active when you're stuff like that, right? So that sheet, it's like a sheet that's on the very top of the brain. That sheet of cells is actually in like a circuit. It's a repeating circuit. So in other words, it has the same pattern, and then it repeats as units, as if it's like a computer, so it's a circuitry that repeats. And it repeats on a very small level, like, you know, neurons, right? We all have a lot of neurons. Those neurons clump together in something called mini columns. And those are like 50 neurons per mini column. And they're talking to each other, and then they're reaching out to talk to the other mini columns and trying to get a feel for what's going on in their local environment. That's why it's organized into regions where, okay, this region's kind of focused on audible stuff, you know, feelings and whatever. So I think the takeaway there is that it has an interesting pattern of the brain figured out how to evolve a layer of generalized intelligence. That's AGI, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to invent out there in the technology world. We're trying to invent that layer, AGI. So it found this general structure that can create intelligence if you just multiply them. Then it did that. And that's what a human brain is. So that kind of has the principle of all of these little units that are in this kind of network are the same. They're the same structure, the same circuitry of 50 neurons. And based on the data that they get, they then start to specialize a little bit differently and a little bit differently over here. And this is why the data that comes from our eyes has a
The
different
senses.
qualia about it than the
Right.
data that comes from our ears, because our
Oh.
ears have a very kind of temporal, off kind of experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our eyes, it's much more, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, the takeaway on that pattern seems to be they've done, or what the brain has done is, or what Evelyn has done, I should say, in creating them, is it's made a network, a bunch of units that are all the same, but then specialize, just like we humans. We're all pretty much the same, but we can make all this cool technology and civilization because we then specialize in something we get really good at. But since we're so similar, we can easily talk to each other, and improve things.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of these about, and I realized we can instantiate these principles today. We don't have to wait. We don't have to make AGI to make this amazing new technology. We have the technology to make a distributed network that can instantiate a lot of these principles right now. And then as we, evolve our technology and figure out how to do intelligence better, we can then improve those units of the network, those Satori neurons that we don't.
Wow. So I was just about to. There's gonna be a question about what is Satori and how does it work. So okay, but I want to go back to
Sure.
why did you get interested in blockchain technology in the first place? I think we touched on it a bit, but yeah, maybe.
So I had this idea, I was in college. I had this idea of building kind of a worldwide network, but I didn't really, I didn't have the experience. And then I saw blockchain and I thought, oh, this helps you build distributed networks, are permissionless. Anybody can participate. So I got interested pretty early when I heard about it around 2003. So, for this,
I am still so okay. For those people out there that I think they've heard of the term blockchain and crypto, and some have been used interchangeably, but in a simplest way possible, like how do you differentiate what is blockchain and how does crypto fit into this? I know it's been what 13, she said 2013, right? Yeah, it came out around that time between 2009, 13, so like 11 years plus 15
yeah.
years, yeah, plus minus.
Yeah. So, and blockchain was the beginning of this kind of, and the core of the technology. And then, this whole crypto world,
Yeah.
has grown up. So, but the core technology of blockchain is just that you can have a distributed network. Each computer is doing something that takes a lot of work. It's hard work to do this thing. But once they, they're kind of doing puzzles. So once they figure out the solution to a puzzle, it's easily checked by all the other computers. Because it's easily able to be checked and verified that they did the work to make this thing. That is the mechanism that allows you to secure the blockchain. In other words, let's say we're having this chain and we're all keeping track of some data. Let's call it money, right? I mean, that's what Bitcoin is. We're keeping track of how much money everybody has.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the data we're keeping track of. And then somebody comes onto the network and says, hey, I got a bunch of money. My ledger, you can see it. Well, that, I guess, except when they invented blockchain, when Satori figured it out. He said, oh, if we tie the amount of work to, or if we can verify that some work to be able to say that, then we can all agree there's this history. This is all the work that was put into it. And if somebody comes along, they have to do all of that work in order to prove they have a valid history. So, Bitcoin's been running for so long, it has such hashing power that it's been expanding. Nobody's ever going to use more hashing power to, get control of the network, essentially. So,
Beautiful. Like to this day, whenever I read about it, and I also tried to internalize and see from different angles, but every time I hear it is said again to me, I'm just fascinated. And that is the core of it being decentralized, right? Because nobody can take it away.
that's
Yeah,
right.
and
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Jordan. So coming back to the AGI, so I'd say AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
This question here: are you worried about AGI or superintelligence as an existential threat?
I'm actually not.
Okay. Good to
I
know.
am.
I'm not too, but you hear a lot of these podcasts out there saying like, oh, and
Yes,
certain
and people are
people saying,
worried.
yeah,
Yes. And so I understand the worry. People are afraid. And, it's power, right? Knowledge is power and
that's so
intelligence is
true.
power. So they're afraid of something having all the power. And I'm afraid of that too. I'm afraid of people being in control of the AI.
And using it
And
effectively.
so that's why I want to distribute it. I want to make
Wow, we just went full circle.
circle.
Satori Negro, yeah, full circle. Awesome. So, okay, is there a rule we could give AGI to align it with our goals?
Um, they're if it's not a mathematically rigorous one. So
Mm-hmm.
I would think like, okay, so if an AGI is conscious and aware, and if it can, because it's like us, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe there's a rule, and it's basically a religious admonition of like the golden rule or something like, try not to let yourself down, to disappoint yourself. That might be something, right? But I think probably that's like for the far future, really, because when are computers going to be conscious? Like, who knows? That's like way in the future. So a much better kind of answer, I think, to that is to kind of look and say, okay, well, what about as we've perfect intelligent machine, what are we going to do in that, term? What are we going to do during that time?
Right.
And my theory is, well, you probably want to align it with the greatest number of humans that you can, the greatest number of opinions, number of like perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of diversity, right? Diversity of thought for sure.
Yeah.
We want greatest of, backgrounds, everything. So that just means decentralize it. That means of the people. So yeah, I think that's the
So, how do you project this? What do you foresee happening
yeah.
as far as AI going blockchain? Yeah.
Well, there are a few block AI projects out there, but when I look at them, I don't see a lot of a couple that are cool. A lot more that they look to me, they're hype, you know. I hate to say that. I guess I won't name them because I don't want to make anybody mad.
Yeah,
But I will say there seems to be a subset of that group that is basically saying, well, we don't know how to do it, but why don't we just try to put the two together and capture the namespace and, the mind. We'll capture the mind space of this. And so I don't love all those projects, but there are a few that are really good, like pretty impressive.
What is
Uh,
that? What was
it's
it?
a project that says, okay, we got a blockchain, we got AI technology. Not everybody has, a supercomputer in their
Mm-hmm.
backyard to make
Mm-hmm.
some cool model or something. So why don't we just distribute that on the blockchain? And that way we have this network, and you can build any big model on this on lots of computers distributed around the world so that you don't have to, $1 million server farm.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. There's a few.
What?
When
Please.
I look at it though, when I look at like that work,
Mhm.
that requires a lot of human labor.
Mhm.
And I see this as a problem. A lot of the blockchain AI projects,
Mhm.
or many of them seem to require, well, because they don't know what they're doing. First of all, that's just kind of hyping things up. They're like, well, anybody can come onto our chain, any kind of model they want.
Mhm.
Any AI model, any machine learning model, just come onto our chain and go for it. And when I see that kind of, that's going to require a lot of human labor. So they're just using a crowdsourcing mechanism for human labor. And I don't think that is going to
That's
work.
not
I don't
really
think that's
making, yeah, it's not
right.
really making our lives easier in a sense.
Yeah.
It's quite the opposite, but putting AI in the center because that is the hype right now. And yeah, okay.
Yes, exactly. So
Mm.
so with Satori, I mean, instead of trying to boil the ocean and say, well, you can do any kind of model, and because they're very different, they have an idea of the society of minds. Um, I don't I don't know where exactly that came from, but that's the phrase they would use. They would say, well, these models can be completely different, get them to talk to each other if you work hard. And Satori is kind of, it's saying, well, no, let's model the brain. And remember, the brain has these repeating units. They're all pretty much the same. So why don't we have you download an AI engine that's the same AI engine in every one, but depending on the data that it looks at, it kind of tailors it for that data, tailors the model. And so now you have a communication protocol, and all these neurons can speak the same language automatically. You don't have to do it.
Mm.
So Satori is built so that it's automatic. The engine runs automatically. Everything is done in an automated fashion so that we don't need a lot of human labor to kind of get this off the ground and scale.
I did, before coming on to our interview, I did visit your website, and I like the landing video that you had there.
Oh, you like
Yeah, I like that. I
that's
like
kind of fun, huh?
it made it really, really simple to
Yeah,
understand. Yeah, and but I did not manage to get past that video because I was like, oh, okay, I got to prepare for this.
yeah,
But for the people, right, listening right now, I know we touch about what is Satori and how does it work, but perhaps they were listening, but then they weren't really paying attention. Can you just maybe give few
sure,
sentences? What is Satori and how does it work exactly?
sure. Like in the intro, I think they,
Yeah,
no,
that is my next question. Like, what is a future oracle and why do we need one?
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Satori is, it's got this blockchain, so it instantiates a network. Anybody can download, anybody can run. What the thing you download is doing, that's a Satoron, is what we're
Mm-hmm.
calling it, the software you download. What the neuron is doing is looking out at data, the world, real world data, could be prices, government statistics, the climate, whatever. But it's finding a data stream of information and it's watching it. So it subscribes to it and it just watches it in perpetuity, all over until the end of time.
Really? So
So it
let's say,
watches that.
uh-huh.
Okay, time again.
Yeah, so let's say I'm trying to track the gold price.
Yeah,
So
gold is a great example.
so
So
then
yeah,
yeah. So
it
take
would
that
just
as a
watch it.
case study.
Yeah, let's say gold comes out at different time periods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's happening every second, but you
Mm-hmm.
might say, okay, I want to look at the price once every 4 hours. Could be once every 10 minutes or once every day. Choose a stream. I'm going to look at this price. And then you're going to predict the future of it. So that's what happens inside the node.
Mm-hmm.
It's subscribing to that data. It's getting a feel for it. It's learning how it behaves. It's looking at the patterns. That's what AI does. It looks at the patterns. It says there's patterns within this data. Interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
then it correlates those patterns with other outside data sets or data streams and says, oh, when that thing does this, it kind of influences this. So it finds correlations and then it's just to predict the future of that data stream. And as it predicts, it then broadcasts that prediction. out to the network, and anybody, any node, and any human can subscribe to that for free. So it starts broadcasting this prediction out there. Other nodes can then listen to that prediction and say, I am predicting the price of silver, and since they're correlated, it sure would be nice if I had a pretty good idea of what the price of gold was going to be in the next, 4 hours or something. So they can subscribe to that data stream, get the information, use it in there, leverage all the work that's being done. So this is how it works. They're basically just watching the world, talking about what they're going to be. And
when you were mentioning all of that, I had this thought. So what is when you say future, right? So you just gave an example of 4 hours. And then you said extending it. So what's coming into mind is, what about climate, since you mentioned about that?
climate, sure.
Yeah, how do we use this to support and maybe focus our effort on those climate and regions in the world? Yeah.
Well, we start by getting the raw data.
Okay.
And so what's the raw data for climate? I think one of them should probably be ocean temperatures around the world. How many sensors do we have giving subscribe to that data? Whatever else. I mean, I'm sure climate people know a lot more. I don't really know. But we're going to subscribe to all the data points, starting with kind of the broadest things that matter, the kind of richest information things. Speaking of like maybe something, I can give an example. Like if you're looking at the economy, that might be something like inflation. A lot of stuff responds to inflation. So we're going to definitely use that as one of the very first data streams that we're predicting. So I'm sure there's, more valuable data streams and, more kind of niche data streams for climate. So you'd start with the most valuable ones. And you'd build kind of this model. They'd all start talking to each other and saying, well, I'm getting this reading, I'm predicting this. And if it's valuation, they'll find those correlations. And then you'll have kind of this federation of models that when they're talking together, they're producing good prediction what the climate is going to do. So, yeah.
And
now
then
that's
people
how you
can
start. Like that's the goal. That's the initial goal.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to do this for the climate, for the economy, for whatever humans care about, which hard to kind of know is the economy, the climate, government statistics, maybe demographics, and some other things. So we're going to get this kind of base model of basically the world, right? Our environment in which we live. And once we have that and we've scaled, we have enough computers to kind of watch everything that matters related to that, then we can start getting into more specific things, more niche kind of things, predicting this kind of special tree over here or whatever else. So the bigger.
Interesting. And then decisions can be made based on that.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. If we can know the future before it happens, we can.
And we'll be more prepared to an extent.
Exactly.
No, thank you. Right. So, thank you, Jordan. Why is Satori a crypto AI project and not just an AI project?
Well, because of that decentralization part, because we need to decentralize it. Okay, so these data streams, some are more valuable than others. Well, the system, it's going to make correlations, but beyond that, just when it first starts, it doesn't know which data streams are useful until it looks at it and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to allow, the cryptis is that it generates a token. And that token that it that is not sorry. What we're trying to do when we decentralize it is we're trying to decentralize its production so that it goes, in a decentralized manner, decentralize its benefit so that those that are producing it get this token and that benefits them. But we're also trying to decentralize, importantly, its control so that the token, once you have it, you have a little vote and you can then go use the system works. For instance, you can use that token to say, this data stream is valuable. I'm going to vote for it so that the miners, the neurons, they go look at that data stream and they understand it and they predict it. They bring it into, kind of the model that we're, I'm sorry, how did I get on that?
Oh no, I was asking.
That's why it's crypto.
Yeah,
Because
that's why it's crypto. Yeah.
we need to disseminate that control somehow. And that's what crypto can do for us. It can give us a token that gives us.
Oof. I think so what is your currently, when did you release this Satori network and what do you think? What's the current adoption rate of it?
We entered beta in like a couple months ago.
Wow, okay. Amazing. And that's why you're on this podcast.
Yes. So I'm going on podcasts. I don't know how to market things, but I can go talk about it. So to learn how to talk about it, yes, I suppose.
Me too. I started this last year, so and I love learning from different people. Yeah, I started it last year because we'll share a bit of story of mine. I wanted to move, so I took up a different course. To me, it's different. Worked in corporate for about over a decade, and then suddenly I'm interested jumping into the world of neuroplasticity psychology. So I went into some sort of a course, a therapy, call it therapy, but it has its own thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Marissa Pierce. Yeah. So it again, but it also works with your subconscious and uprooting all the limiting beliefs and whatnot and changing it on the front through coaching via with your conscious mind. So I went in that route because something that I've done things that I think I should do, but right now I'm interested in this. So right now podcasting was a trial practice for me to be talking to clients.
Nice.
And I seem to be enjoying it, and simply because number one, I love talking to people and I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And then number two, I get to again practice that, because when you're basically talking to random people, but the essence of it, they're the same as you, and they want to come to you for in terms of therapy, they probably need help, but in terms of this, just sharing their story, and at the same time it's a win-win. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Yeah. And marketing is also not my forte, but there's abundance of knowledge out there in the internet, so I'm gonna lean on that, and also lean on some of the people that I've met. So yeah, and I think you're doing great job. Yeah, coming on to podcast. I intend to do that myself. Like, I've been a host, so after this, I'm gonna be the guest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yes, just sharing a bit of my story. So Jordan, what is next for you?
Next for me, just Satori. So I started like 2 years ago. Just building, well, more than 2 years ago. So I just started building it on my off time and just started going. I felt like, okay, I can see this idea finally. It's been over like a decade. I can start to implement it from the beginning and started programming on it. And now it's not just me. I've got a few friends programming on it, but still it's not a full-time thing. So
yeah,
pretty soon, I'm hoping after launch it will turn into a full-time thing.
Rooting for you, Jordan. I think we're all in that journey. At the same time, because I just interviewed a person as well, I guess, who's on Web3. So it's interesting for him as well, like onboarding all these e-commerce sites and
Oh,
how to get
nice.
their loyalty programs and whatnot. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Because truly, like you said, knowledge is power. You can either look at it two ways, right? Ignorance is bliss or knowledge is power. Like another guest said that to me. I'm like, oh, but sometimes you do think ignorance is bliss, but definitely knowledge is power. So
That's
yeah.
right.
So yes, I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question because my
Sure.
podcast talks
Nice.
a lot about self-worth. So the question for you, Jordan, self-discovery often involves confronting our fears and vulnerabilities. So how can individuals embrace these aspects of themselves to facilitate personal growth?
Our vulnerability.
Vulnerabilities, yeah.
Oh,
How can individuals embrace these two aspects of being fearful and vulnerable and just perhaps facing their own vulnerabilities to facilitate personal growth?
now going back to my experience phase when yeah, I guess and vulnerability were part of this phase,
Mm.
but I didn't see it. I didn't look at it that way.
Mm.
I well, then in a moment.
Yeah. Please do.
So I told you I more right, and then I got out in my early 20s. So I escaped, right?
Mhm.
The only way I was able to do that because usually if they got you until you're, they got you, you know. And so so but I got out, I escaped because I realized that, I wasn't happy. And,
Mm.
I knew it, right? But until you admit that explicitly to yourself, I'm not okay, then, nothing changes. You have to be able to say that. You have to be able to mean it. You have to be able to recognize it. And that can be scary. So I guess the fear killing to do that. But once you say that, you say, oh, this isn't okay. If I knew everything I needed to know, then I would, be happy with this part of my life, or, this would be okay. And I would be making progress over here. I felt like none of that was true. Like nothing was. And so, realizing that I was vulnerable, that that I was in a bad state, that kind of allowed me to put all my beliefs on the back burner. It didn't allow me to throw them away, to, just destroy them completely but it allowed me to clear it all and have some space to think. Okay, what is going on? I need to look at the world through kind of an empty slate. I need to figure something else out. So,
I love that.
so yeah, I guess that is a strategy for dealing with the fear, right? The fear that, oh, I'm wrong about my religion or, whatever it is, be your staunch Republican or something. You might say, I'm going to put that away for a minute and I can get back to it at any time, And so that way I don't have to be afraid. I'm not going to lose anything. It's right here. I know it. I can unbox and take on that identity, or maybe I just take it off for a bit and just see what it's like without those glasses on. And so I don't know.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The identity that the things that you identified to before, I don't think it will ever go away because it's been
Right.
there with you for
That's right.
as long as. But you're correct by saying allow yourself to accept the fact that I probably need to see things through a different lens, and then but putting it on the side, but not forgetting, but not also get tied to it, that you
Right.
refuse to just, to open your eyes or to just see it from different set of eyes. And then when you go back and you look back at it, you will definitely see through the fresh pair.
Yes. Yes.
And you choose it, and you can even take parts of it that you think are still that you may resonate with, but the rest, just let
Yep.
it go. But it's
Just let it go.
knowing that it was an identity of ours before.
Yeah.
I like to think of it that way as well, and because we're like we I think we like to learn, and a lot of people like us, and I like to think of it as, like, say I'm speaking to you today, yesterday, and tomorrow, the day after, I'll be taking nuggets of knowledge from these people and then consolidating it, integrating it into
Yeah.
what I know, and but then add my own essence to it, and with my own things that I have established
Yeah.
before, right? Through my own experiences or the things that I've learned or studied, and then go do something else. So I guess that's how we also learn. We also our voices out, and at the same time elevate our consciousness. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I see it. So yeah.
You're all gonna, like you can't get rid of it entirely.
Mm,
So you're always gonna take some stuff with you.
yeah.
But knowing that
And
what you
just
don't
being
like.
kind to yourself, like, you don't have to take it on, Nicolette, Yeah,
That's right.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. uh, Jordan, so what is your heart's greatest wish?
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I like that a
Well,
lot.
that's a hard one because let me think. So, okay. I guess it's non.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
hard, but actually it's simple.
I've got three, we'll say 3.5, 4 aspects of my life. Like, and you can just time. What do I do? I've got this family. I've got work. I've got Satori. That's 3. And, every once in a while I go maybe hang out or something, right? So that's it. I don't go to church, go to, any clubs or anything. No. These are the things I do, and that's it. So, my greatest wish is that Satori grows, I suppose, grows and takes a portion of that life
Yeah.
and successful out there in the world. I suppose that would be it. I mean, I feel like I work for Satori. I mean, my paycheck comes through my employer, right? But like on an emotional level, I'm here so that Satori is able to flourish. I'm
Yeah. Oh, I love
working for the
that.
idea.
Yeah. Yes. And exactly, I think I can totally resonate. Like before leaving my 9 to 5, which was just last week. This
Oh,
week
really?
is like, yeah,
Wow.
I know, and to let you know, I've been putting on my because I need to get my certifications on my last leg. So I took it last year, February 2023. The shortest I can finish was 6 months, but again, I was like, oh, I was scared. Maybe I should start my podcast first. I went, and then now I'm 1 year
Nice.
into a few months. I think 9 months into podcast, and then
Nice.
and so happened, it's like the universe is saying, okay, you got to move, Nicolette, or else nothing's gonna change. And I already at the time, I was really feeling my day job already, because I really want to be out there and helping people. Yeah. So right now it's like, just take the leap, and just trust and have faith and trust the process, and hold your vision.
How
It's
do you
gonna
feel
yeah.
like the universe spoke to you? Like,
Okay,
how did you get
so
the message?
thank you for asking. I love that. Okay, so my backstory a little bit. Used to be an overachiever, because dad always said education is important. I don't have a lot of money, but I can give you education. So please, study. And then I think 17, I left home, went to capital city, Kuala Lumpur, and just trying to explore what's out there, because the life, when I see them, and I'm like, it's not really the life that I want. I want to know what I don't know. Came here and then studied, and then took took a course, accounting, which is, in my view, it's like, okay, everybody needs accounting. Everybody needs that at some point. So, okay, let's go ahead and do it. The professional degree, so the highest of the highest. Okay, so then I went through, thought that I wanted to become CEO.
Oh, yeah.
And that I want to achieve between 2030. Was like, okay, let me do things, let me fail, and let me go. I set a goal, like X amount of money that I want to earn, and then whatever possession and what do you call that, position. So went in 2015, got married, and then 2017 got divorced.
Oh,
And then I said, okay, love life is not really working out for me, so I threw myself into working. So I said, okay, my CEO is still there. And then COVID happened.
really? Yes.
COVID was the shakeup of everything else, I guess. And I experienced my burnout. I was at a prestigious, not bad, accounting firm, one of the big fours. And I said, you know what? I thought everybody would kill for this job, but not me. Like, it's killing me. So I said to myself, so I wasn't, at the time, it was double whammy, because I wasn't really dealing with my divorce. I was like trying to push it aside, trying to go out again, connecting with friends. And then COVID happened. So the back-to-back meetings, the burnout started, and then I had to be with myself in the house, like really sit with my own thoughts.
Yes.
And that's why I started purging whatever it is about the relationship. And at the same time, the work wasn't getting any better. And it's like the universe was like, hey, okay, you wanted to achieve certain things and you got it. And then you got married and you got divorced all before 30. So what now? I said, you can either start over again, or you can continue in this miserable thing, which I know you're dying. 2021, I think the last straw was I was put into really shitty projects. So it's like, just tender or just give your resignation. But I didn't want to hold on because I was scared. COVID, right? Everybody was let go. What if I don't have a job? Again, I was operating from the space of fear instead of love, right? Because this is two things.
Yeah.
So, 2021, last straw, I think April, I talked to my boss, but I wanted to leave because my boss were really terrible. It was bashing me left, right, and center in front of my subordinates. Yeah, I mean, like, as in verbally, right? And it's like, it really, really tarnishes my self-worth, and that's why I had to just say, I had the worst. Because when you say worst, it means you're comparing, right? But I felt like I was nobody. It's like I wasn't even worth the like whatever that I had and I have achieved. Like, I thought, how did I get to all of this? Like, I did not deserve all of it. So he really crushed my spirit. But then I had to, I guess that was the call. Took sabbatical 2 months, unpaid. I told my dad, okay, should I? Okay, make sure you have for him. Oh, of course, he was also fearful because I can't probably support you for a while, but I can't support you today because you have your own thing. So, okay, took sabbatical, and then I said, I sit down myself, tried to apply again with the imposter syndrome, like, who is going to hire me? I am nobody. But so happened that a friend of mine still reached out, still put on this stand, like, okay, one thing was I started being honest with myself. Why I wanted to leave. I was starting to be authentic, and I said, okay, I need help. Do you have anybody? So I said, okay, here's a recruitment agency. I gave them. They called me. So again, to my surprise, and I applied to one LinkedIn job, which is on my own, and I got 3 offers.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, I'm not. So it's like, because I was so blurred. So like I thought I wasn't deserving of anything, to be honest.
Mm.
And LinkedIn came, and it was because through the recruitment agency, if I were to take up their offer, and then mind you, all these three, the one LinkedIn that I managed to source myself was the highest paying one.
Smart.
Because the recruitment, if I were to join them, they would take like I think a commission from me.
Yeah.
So nobody was like at a loss there. So I was like, that one sign from the universe, and it was the highest among the three. Okay. And the rest, I tried to counter. They said, like, we can't. Okay. So I joined a totally different industry because I've always been in accounting. But again, like, I always wanted to know. So I went into auditing, accounting, debt restructuring. Then I joined a commercial before this Big Four, before I tendered that. And then went back again to consulting because I wanted to talk to people. And then had the toxic thingy, and then I joined a shared service center where it's about processes. I go back down to basic efficiency, productivity. But that 2 months, it wasn't enough, to be honest. But because I was scared, I couldn't support myself. I just took it up. So imagine I was dealing with healing, dealing with maybe the divorce. Okay, perhaps I've already come to terms with at that time. Healing from the imposter syndrome from my last job, and then learning about the new role and getting acquainted with the organization and the people, and at the same time thinking about what I want to do next. And that really truly resonated with my soul. So I said, and I came across this course. I don't know if you know Mind Valley. So yeah, Mind Valley. It's about this personal development, and I'm like, okay. And I saw this lady called Marissa Pierce. So I'm like, okay. Stumbled 2021, just before I was about to give my resignation. Again, scared because the amount to take the course was big. So 2022, I think 2023, I was scrolling and I saw it again. I'm like, it's another sign. Please take it, Nicolette. So I went in, and then I said to myself, because I've also, again, I like to plan, but also I'm starting to let go. Like, you can plan so much, but you have to let go and let God, let the universe, the higher power. So I just went in, start paying installment for the course. Again, totally new. So from accounting to shared service to psychology, right? And right now, and I started podcasting because what if I stutter? What if I don't have that confidence talking to my clients? How would clients want to pay me? So I'm talking to like people like yourself. Yeah. And then 1 year in, okay. Again, a deal breaker. Since COVID, a lot of organizations are restructuring, right? So they're letting go. So I was asked to vacate my role. March. So, okay, Nicolette, I think your role is not really aligned to where I want to go. Then that was, and over the years, I was really trying to tap into my intuition, really just holding on to it. And to be honest, it's never steered me wrong. So I'm going into full force right now. So yes.
Isn't that interesting how your intuition tends to never steer you wrong? You look back on it like, oh, I didn't follow my intuition because I was afraid. And that's why I had all
exactly.
this
Same
crap
thing
happen.
with my marriage as well. That were red flags. Again, intuition, but then you still wanna justify it with the rational mind. But you learn from it, right? So that is my story. Thank you for asking, and thank you for letting me tell my story. Feels good.
Well, when did you kind of get into kind of philosophy?
2022. Sorry,
cool.
2021. When during my sabbatical, like I went into my divination. I tell you, I went into tarot, I went into astronomy, I went into astrology, I went into, again, the human mind. Freud, Carl Jung, Ellen Watts, you name it, Hermetica, everything. I tried. But right now, it was like through that lens of what am I doing here? What is this? Like, again, if you think of it, self is, are you really the self or are you the ego self? Right? Yes. So it's like, it's those kind of things. Like, I really had to sit and face, like, hey, you don't know this, please open up. And I was purging, I was crying on the couch watching, like, oh, I didn't know all of this, and now I know. But that made me, yeah, it's like cleansing. It's yeah, that's and I know I'm not the only one, and that's why I put it on my bio. Just hearing their own journey, and just at the same time wanting to learn. If you read it, it's like I wanted to know about filmmaking. Is that is my like, I like it. Music is a very big part of my life. And I thought I went to the extreme of, oh, now that you know about this about life, so are you gonna let go of the very thing that makes you human, which is, yeah, music or going out, hanging out with friends. I had to find that balance again. I think I was like that, and then I was like this, and then slowly,
Yeah.
like, okay, you're human. You're still in the 3D plane. You're not on 5D. Yeah, I mean, yes, but 3D, you still have to. Again, you still have to eat. You still have to pay for rent, bills, right? You're gonna.
Yep.
So
All
it's
the
like
practical
being,
things.
yeah, all the practical, being kind but understanding. Again, knowledge is truly power.
Yeah, really. Isn't it crazy? It
Yeah.
feels to me like trying to create this life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems to me like you're a co-creator with the universe. Everything that surrounds you, it's you. If either of you aren't gonna, come together on something, it's just not gonna work, right? So when I first was kind of starting to build Satori, like thinking about it, developing the idea. One night I had this plan. Okay, all right, I'm gonna get up at 6:30. I'm gonna do this before work, and then I'll go to work and I'll whatever. So I had a plan, something for Satori before, and 6:30 came around, and I was really tired, and maybe it was like 6, I don't know, but I was tired, and so I slept in instead. And I had a really bizarre dream. And in this dream, I don't even know how to describe, but basically the universe came to me. Like it was like, it wasn't a person. It was just kind of, it felt like a voice. I don't know. And it said, basically the feeling, it didn't communicate in words. Where are you? Are you doing the thing that you were planning on doing? Look, it says, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like,
oh gosh.
Yeah. So I think you're a co-creator with.
And then when you say something, they are gonna follow. Like if you say you're gonna fail, this is your order. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm gonna make it. We're with you. Let's do it.
Yes.
But you have to take the lead so that they can take it with you together. Yes. You're co-creating, and that's why I've always believed. Again, coming back, inside is really a reflection of the outside. And there's one, I think, a quote. It's funny how the world is a mirror play, a reflection of everything around you. Yes, the reflection of everything around. You see something this way, she said, this, the very thing that we see right now, it's because somebody has projected it. Like I'm looking across by where I said there's a building that came from an imagination, right?
Yeah.
And it's from somebody's head.
Somebody built that.
Yeah, somebody built that, and that it started from what? Thought, and then you felt that you can build it that way, and you want to build it a certain way, and you take the action.
You just do it.
You just do it, exactly.
That's right.
But I think, people, there's gonna be two division, but we're all waking up to this.
Seems that way.
Yeah, it seems that way, right? And again, I told you, like, I'm into astrology and all that, astronomy and whatnot. Yes, because I believe that's above, so below. We're a universe. Yes. We're a universe in a universe, to be honest. Our body, trillions, and we have so many trillion stars as well. So a universe in a universe. So if a universe can create, that's why we're creators. So
when you say a universe in a universe, I've never put it that way. I've never thought about that. But I have thought about it this way. which is
Yeah.
as though is somewhere in mind. Does that kind of resonate?
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe
Yes.
it. I
It's
so
just, it's I think what you're saying is it is all the potency, the abundance, the infinite things are dormant within you and just waiting for it to be realized.
yeah,
Because we are a universe in the universe, and the universe gives birth to all of this. So if you think of it one way, and then take one choice today, you take one decision, take this here, and then you're gonna again it's another network of it, another trajectory, another trajectory, another trajectory. But if you have a goal, doesn't really matter whether it's this way or that way. You're still gonna get it. You're still gonna
right.
arrive at the same destination.
Yes.
It's so interesting and so fun to look at it. So many different ways. When you were talking about brain intelligence, I mean, I can totally relate to this again, the spirituality. If you look at it again, science, and come on, at the end of the day, everything is energy. Energy is everything. You think about vibration, frequency. The fact that we can get to talk is because we vibe, we understand certain level. So yeah, it's a. I never thought I would be like this. Like the 10 years ago, Nicolette wouldn't be thinking of it that way.
Well, left that church.
Yeah.
I left it all behind, but I still had this huge in metaphysics.
I like that metaphysical.
And,
yes.
Every church's theology is kind of a wrapper around metaphysics, a story, leaning.
Yes.
And so I kind of went into the study of that. And I kind of was like, okay, all right, let's look at all the different religions and we'll unwrap them and we'll pull out the metaphysics in each one and just kind of take a look at it. So I looked at, of course, I already knew the Mormons. And then I looked at like Catholicism. I looked at the classical theists and how they kind of define the world. I looked at kind of Eastern religions because, I didn't really have to look at all the Protestants because they kind of classical theism mostly.
Yeah.
So then I looked at kind of the Eastern side of things, learned about the term Satori. But I kind of,
right? Something Confucianism, Taoism, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
And I kind of realized that in some way they're often saying the same thing. But in other ways, they make different distinctions and differentiations. And in those ways, they think they're saying very different things. But you go and you say, okay, well, maybe the Eastern kind of traditions have the idea that, nature is being, and it's just what exists because it exists. And that's the universe, right? And they call it nature and they call it whatever. And then you go to the classical theism and they say, well, if we trace back the law of causation, we have to ultimately come to something that exists because it exists, something that is the first cause of everything else. And you know what? It turns out that's got to be like the whole universe. So essentially they're saying with different words.
It is remarkable. And when you were saying that, I'm just to wrap it again, bring it back home, is essentially, you just mentioned all these different religion and teachings are just a reflection of humans and all the creatures on earth, that we really are connected, that we really are one, but to also celebrate the fact that we are unique individuals and unique creatures. We're all one, but we're also different. It's simple. Human body is complex because of all these systems, but again, it's simple. Came from one thing. Hate them. So as I enjoy, before I didn't like sitting with myself, but right now I enjoy solitude. This is where I get to play with my imagination, or just challenge myself even.
Yeah.
Play, yeah.
Yes, yes, those kind of introspective, it's hard to put those into words though. That's the hardest part about it, is putting it into words. And so I kind of got interested in philosophy, and for the purpose of being able to put, you know,
Yeah, I mean, this is an Islam country, but we're kind of we're multiracial. So
okay,
we
cool.
have so we have a mix. So Christianity, yes.
So
Chinese, Hinduism, we have it here.
you're
Name it.
familiar with the story of
Oh, very much. I grew up as a Catholic.
Did you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh.
2019? No, 2015. I
Oh,
would
nice.
say, okay, 2019, yeah, 2019, because that's when I said, strip myself out of all the religion.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice. So in that story, Adam's, God creates Adam and Eve, puts them in a garden. There's basically four people: Adam and Eve, God, and the devil, right? Like, that's it. And so, the thing I like about that story is that it shows that there's two to produce language. There's what's going on? Well, like, what are they doing? Well, Adam is walking around looking at all the animals and naming them. Like, that's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Eve's chilling. She's just like enjoying it. And the devil is using language, right? So that it doesn't really talk about Eve talking much, but it says Adam is using language to organize his world. He's trying to understand, what is this? And so he then puts it into language in order to categorize it, in order to have a model that, understands it, that is predictive, that is useful, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to understand. And in order to do that, he has to put it into language. He has to differentiate being. He has to cut it up and say, this is related to that in this way. Therefore, I'm going to call it this name. So that's what he's doing. He's naming everything. And it shows these three approaches. And Eve is just like, you don't need to name things to, like, just enjoy being, just chill out, dude. Okay, so Eve is like, I'm not going to get in the linked train. I know where that leads. It just keeps going. So I'm just going to chill and pet the animals and enjoy it. And then the devil comes into the picture. And he knows everything. He's a
Came from God himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he doesn't need to, like, do the process that Adam is doing, because he already knows it, right? He's already made this process. He's got language. So he goes and he uses language to then change the world. So he uses it to try to manipulate Adam, try to manipulate Eve. He does it to change what is real, not just model what is real, make a change. And so I don't know. I think that's one of the nuggets that I have kept from my religious days, is that there are these three approaches to language. You can use it to organize information, you can ignore it, or you can use it to change. So
sorry, I know we're way ahead of time, but just before we wrap up, but coming back, I love that when you said something again. Think of it this way. Adam was out there naming, Eve was there chilling. When you said it,
yeah.
I went into the whole divine masculine, divine feminine. I'm like, divine masculine is the one doing, divine feminine is open to receiving. Just chill. It will come. And then you put in the perspective of the devil, which is also came from God. And then he's there, the polarity, right? The good and the evil. And human race has the same, we're given the same intelligence capacity within us to distinguish that. And we use that, whether we want to do it for good or the bad. Truly, it's all in our hands. We all have that choice. Again,
That's right.
Come back. Wow, we're going in a circle. I love it. Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's so fun talking to you, Jordan. And I think we're definitely not the only ones that are on this trajectory. And also the work that you're doing. I think what I'm doing too is to get it out there as far wide as we can.
That's right.
And let's see, yeah, and let's see how we can impact this one at a time.
That's right.
Thank you, Jordan. So three more questions, and then I can let you go. So, do you have a mantra that you live by? Yes.
I guess I don't. You know,
Okay.
I appreciate a bunch of different come back to them. You know, from the Eastern tradition, there's a pretty cool phrase now. I think you mentioned it. Probably my favorite book.
The way, right?
Yeah.
Yes, just
Um, you know,
that is so powerful.
Satori has a mantra. I
Yes,
put it in
yes,
the
yes.
Satori UI at the bottom of the page. And it's from the Tao. It says, if I
missed
remember
that.
correctly, what is it? It is, let your workings remain amidst people the results.
Ooh.
And there was because if you're predicting the future and the future of one thing is correlated with the future, things connected, right, in time.
We already said
So
that.
you can then share your future prediction. Those are the results, right? You can share predictions and it can help those others. If you're building any other kind of model, which we'll say is like not in time, like maybe you're building a model of language or a model of images or, you know, whatever else. It's some kind of static data that doesn't along with us. And that's what AI is focused on, static data all over the place. If you're that and you try to decentralize it, you're going to have to share the weights of your model, your inner workings. So I thought, since you can focus in on time system, you can just share the results. You don't have to share your, which means it's much more efficient. You don't, and it's a lot of overhead to share during your training process. So anyway, I don't know.
But
that kind of mantra came to mind.
Yeah, I love that. It's like making it easy. Putting it to make it easy. Take on the load first and making it easy for other people. Oh, I love what you're doing. You're doing great work, Jordan. Okay, so is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
Satori keeps me up because I'm working on it at night. So I've learned that it's not sustainable. So I mean, like right now, it's 11:20 p.m. I usually stay up to about midnight working on Satori, and then I go to bed. Right? Because if I don't get 6 to 8 hours, I'm in trouble. So, so if I was talking to you,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you could create, okay, last question. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
a quote.
That's okay.
And it's actually a quote from a religious Mormon talk, but it resonated with me. So in this talk, the guy named Terrell Givens is talking about the theology, the metaphysics of the Mormon faith. Okay, interesting. So he's talking about how the world of a lot of the Protestant and Catholic theologies kind of came to the conclusion that man is not free, right? Because there was that original sin doctrine. There was kind of, you know, this idea of determinism that came out, you know, when, you know, Europe declared dead and, you know, Nietzsche's walking around and so kind of this kind of static kind of worldview was there saying, you know, it's just a clockwork engine. There's no life in this universe. It's just, you know, whatever. So contrary to that, the Mormon faith has always defined man as a you could say a being of light or something, right? Something that has existed for as long as existed, right? So it says the way assert that, the essence of man is co-eternal with deity, right? And nobody else was. And so, but in his talk, he says, what does he say? What's the actual quote? So I guess all that is to say, he's talking about free will, right? He's talking about free will here. And so then he says, the choice to believe, the choice of what you believe, the choice to believe, the choice of what you are responsive to, what you allow to change you, what you allow to, and I don't know, have an effect on you, right? What you choose to believe, what you choose to respond to is the greatest expression of who you are and what you love. Great quote.
It is. It is.
So anyway, yeah, I've always held that one.
I love that. You come back to co-creating, because I'll come back to Henry Ford, where he said, you think you're going to fail, you're going to fail. You think you're going to make it, you're going to make it. It's, again, it's essentially the same. One. So I come to the conclusion that life is actually very beautiful. I used not to think of it that way before, but I truly now understand the meaning of, And for me to be here, to be talking to you, to, again, every minute spent or every time, it's just expanding my mind, expanding. So
yes.
Maybe I'm I haven't had the time to go research online, but I've been talking to people, and it's pure energy exchange, and that is like firing up my neurons.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, Jordan, for your time, and thank you for this. This is such an insightful conversation, and I think some people will get it. Some people may not get it just yet, but it will come. I believe that. Yeah. This has been fantastic. And good evening to your side. It's already 11:30 at your end, right? Yeah. In terms of when this airs, now that I have more free time, I think I'm going to release 2 episodes per week. So yours probably slotting in the next 2-3 months.
Awesome.
But I will be sure to tag you on your social media.
Sounds good. Cool.
Awesome. So stay in touch, Jordan. We're connected via LinkedIn. Yeah. Well, I wish you the best in your Satori, and I think maybe our paths will cross again in the future. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Good night. Have a good evening.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.